Well, hello everybody, and welcome to another edition of the MrWarrenHayes Show. I, of course, am Mr. Warren Hayes. It is Wednesday. It is August 28th, 2024, which means that it is time for pro wrestling talk here on the MrWarrenHayes Show. And I'm going to be doing it. I'm going to be doing it for a couple of hours now, right here on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes, or on your favorite podcast application, whether it be Spotify, Apple Podcasts, so on and so forth. Overcast, you know, I'm there. I'm available. You can go check that out there as well. And we'll all just be so excited and happy to just be hanging out together. But seriously, thank you for being here. If you want to leave a like on the video, either on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes, or a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, or a 5-star rating on Spotify would be tremendous to help out the channel. And I want to get I just want to get right to this. Confusing word. Like tonight, on this recording, I've been stammering over words more so than usual, and just looking for the simplest words that just weren't coming to me. It's very strange recording tonight. But nonetheless, we're here to talk about All In London, the big AEW show that happened just a couple of days ago. I'm going to be reviewing all of that, of course. We're going to be doing a quick preview of WWE Bash in Berlin, the New Japan show, also this Friday, Capital Collision, and some other news and notes happening up and down and all around. So let's just get right to it. Thank you very much for being here. Once again, tonight, folks, we have to start off the podcast on a bit of a somber note, because another wrestling personality has passed away. On August 26th, we learned that Sid Eudy, known to wrestling fans as Sid Vicious, Psycho Sid, or just plain old Sid, had indeed passed away. His son Gunnar announced the sad news via a Facebook post, saying his father had passed on after a long battle with cancer. Sid was 63 at his passing. Today on August 27, which is on Tuesday when we record the podcast, Gunnar Eudy once again shared a few more details on the passing, particularly the condition his father was in. He said the following, quote, "Sid was diagnosed with congestive heart failure in 2016 and atrial fibrillation, better known as AFib, around the same time. He was also given a pacemaker. In April 2021, he was diagnosed with stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, which was linked to Roundup weed killer." Just terrible series of health events that just led to this unfortunate passing. I mean, right now, at 63, at 63, it's just, it's way too young. But, as far as figures in pro wrestling go, Sid is probably one of the guys that many people, especially of my ilk, my generation, remember very fondly for multiple reasons. He began wrestling in Memphis in the late 1980s as Lord Humongous. And things really kicked into gear for him in 1987. He even went on a tour of Japan, going to New Japan Pro Wrestling, in fact, in 89 as the Vicious Warrior. And while he was there, he even had a chance to challenge Tatsumi Fujinami for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. And of course, he fought and lost to Antonio Inoki, because, of course, Inoki just looked at this guy and was like, yeah, no, this is a guy I want to beat. He was quickly pegged to be a top guy on the national level when he came back home. Because look, we all know Sid. Even back then, his charisma, his persona were absolutely his top attributes. That's what set him apart from everyone else. He went to WCW in 1989 and became a tag wrestler with Danny Spivey. A lot of people a lot of people know, but maybe don't necessarily remember when he started off there in the Skyscrapers tag team with Spivey. But Sid had an injury, and he basically lost his spot in the team. But his big break would come when he returned to WCW as the muscle for the Four Horsemen. That helped push him to a position of a main event heel, where he challenged Sting for the NWA World's Heavyweight title at Halloween Havoc, all the way back in 1990. And he even worked house shows with Sting. Like, he was very busy with Sting around that time. He left for the WWF in 1991, and he was set to be a huge superstar. Like, Vince obviously took a shine to him, and he was ready to just put him over. In fact, Vince had most of his roster cut promos on Sid to put him over. That's how over this guy, or at least how, not necessarily over, but that's how Vince wanted to promote it. He really wanted to do the most with this guy, and as establishing him as someone where the entire roster would be like, this guy's unpredictable. He's this huge giant. You never know what he's gonna do. He's crazy, and so on and so forth. And that worked into worked in his favor, because he was introduced as the special guest referee for that year's SummerSlam in 1991, and ended up posing alongside Hulk Hogan after the match made in hell that involved Ultimate Warrior against Sergeant Slaughter and Colin Mufasa and General Adnan. So there was a big deal there. And he also main evented WrestleMania 8 with Hogan in 1992, right, the year thereafter. So there was tons of star power that was perceived in old Sid here. But shortly thereafter, he tested positive for a drug violation after the WrestleMania 8 main event, and he left the company. He returned then to WCW in 1993, feuding with Davey Boy Smith and Sting. He was paired up with he was paired up with Vader, like the two big heels of the company, him and Vader. But that run was also cut short for a rather infamous incident that a lot of you probably know about. It's the stabbing incident that happened between him and Arn Anderson when they were in a tour, during a tour of England. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I mean, it's an incredible story. But here's the long and short of it, right? The story is that it started at the hotel bar, an argument about money and about essentially, big paint strokes here. It was about money and how much money Ric Flair was making at the time, despite being so old. Beers get thrown, and Arn Anderson takes offense to all of this. He was a pal of Rick's. The enforcer gimmick wasn't necessarily just a gimmick. So Arn and Sid square up, and people interfere, and they basically send them to their rooms. It's like, all right, you guys are done. You're cut off for the night. Head back to your rooms, right? And everyone's like, things are gonna cool down, but things don't cool down. In fact, Sid goes to Anderson's room, and there's a bunch of reasons that we've been told in regards to why Sid did that from Sid himself during, overshoot interviews. This is, you can find tons of those. Too Cold Scorpio, who was a witness to a lot of what happened. He has his side, he observed things, so he had his side of the story, and Arn has a side, and Sid has a side, Vader has a side as well. And the thing, so basically, Sid shows up at Arn's door, knocks on the door, and announces himself essentially, and Arn opens the door and attacks him with a pair of scissors. And he ends up stabbing Sid in the stomach, and Sid wrestles no pun intended, I apologize, wrestles the scissors away from Arn and proceeds to stab Arn Anderson 20 times. So basically it was a mess. Thankfully everyone survived. Paramedics came in and so on and so forth. The outcome of this, as I mentioned, was Sid getting released. Arn had a suspension in this situation, but Arn was like, no, you know what? Thank you. Sid was like, in regards to Sid, it was like, no, thank you. You're done, pal. Hit the bricks. And this was despite the fact that Sid was poised to headline Starrcade that year. So I believe after that, he went to the USWA for a while. And then he got the call to go back to the WWF. And he went in to be Shawn Michaels' heater. And he ended up, feuding with Diesel. And then in 1996, he replaced the Ultimate Warrior in the main event of In Your House International Incident, right? That was the thing. So he had his first big babyface run in the promotion. From that point on, he was teaming with Shawn Michaels and Ahmed Johnson, right? And he, like we said, replaced the Ultimate Warrior. But the interesting thing here is that this was on the tail end of Warrior's career. Like this was before, if I'm not mistaken, the jump to WCW, right? Because Ultimate Warrior had ended up missing a bunch of house shows, and he allegedly took some time off. No, well, he took some time off. That's not alleged. He took some time off because he allegedly wanted to grieve his father's passing, although Vince once claimed that he and that Warrior or Hellwig and his dad at the time did not get along. So it's like he didn't see that as a proper excuse. From that point on, historically speaking, Warrior would always dispute that. Vic McMahon was like, no, this is why we got rid of him. That was there because there was likely something to do with merchandise. I'm getting sidetracked here, but it was Ultimate Warrior being Ultimate Warrior, right? Sid won the WWF Championship at Survivor Series that year by beating Shawn Michaels. I believe it was an MSG, if I'm not mistaken, and he got a tremendous reaction. He would lose the title back to Michaels in January, but regained it 1 month later so that he could headline WrestleMania 13 with The Undertaker and lose it again, and that would be for the last time in his wrestling career. He had a car accident in 1997, and he left the company. And would not be seen in a WWE ring until for the next 15 years or so. And even despite that, because a lot of people were like, "Oh, he's never going to go back to WCW," right? He ended up working ECW, right? And in ECW, he was welcomed back with open arms, like a massive star. Like the smart crowd, the snarky smart crowd that made up the ECW audience, nonetheless, were excited to see Sid. They didn't reject him; they welcomed him with open arms. And because this is the thing about Sid, right? This is the thing. Everyone loved him, despite the fact he was a terrible pro wrestler. And I mean that lovingly, just a big, massive ball of unhinged charisma, but with the skill set of a sack of turnips. Like, no one will remember Sid for his incredibly crisp wrestling, his 5-star matches. He wasn't very good. It's not much of a hot take, but I really do believe that Sid will always be, and again, I say this lovingly, there's no disrespect in this, he will always be the best bad wrestler to ever do it. And because, when people today talk about, aura and presence, and, they should go back and look at Sid in the mid 90s. Like, his greatest skill was that it was his aura. That was what he brought to the business. And despite, stabbing people and ignoring, drug policies, he still found work in the majors. Like, he still managed to have the work always. Because even after what happened with Arn Anderson, with most of the people who were around at the time still within the company and in positions of power, Sid had one last major run in WCW in the spring of 1999. He feuded with Kevin Nash, and he had a series of matches with Bill Goldberg. I don't know if everyone remembers this. I remember this. Yeah, I don't want to call it fondly, but I do remember Sid's streak. Does everyone? Because there was Goldberg's streak, right? We remember that. But what about Sid's streak? Do we remember that when he was the Millennium Man? Was it, or had he debuted? I think he was the Millennium Man at that point. Sid would powerbomb people, and they would count. When I say they, I mean commentary. They would count every powerbomb he landed. And it's like, there's another one. And they'd treat it like a victory. Oh, he's 120-0. It was just tremendous stuff. Like, just for every time he would powerbomb a dude, Tony Schiavone would be like, oh, there's another one. And then, of course, he beats Goldberg, and then the streak is broke. He wrestles Goldberg, and he the streak ends. But yeah, just some unhinged stuff. But it's so incredibly Sid. It works so much. He won the WCW title in January 2000 once Chris Benoit left. After the sold out pay-per-view, Benoit defeated Sid in a match that technically was served to persuade Benoit to stay in WCW and not leave for the WWF, despite Kevin Sullivan returning. And Benoit didn't budge, and he vacated the title, and he left for WWF. So the match basically was laid out so that Sid's foot would be under the bottom rope as an out, and he could come back and challenge for the title if Benoit decided to leave, right? So he was positioned as the top babyface for the era of the booking committee, right up until Vince Russo and Eric Bischoff returned, and then Sid was essentially benched for the rest of the year. He returned to television in late 2000, and then his career came to an end in January 2001 because of that injury. Yes, we all know the one we're talking about, the one that has been shared and clipped ad nauseum, literally and figuratively, where he snapped his leg when he came off a turnbuckle. Just a gruesome live injury. I mean, he'd returned to the ring a few times, did some independent dates, but he never really returned to WWE afterwards. And I find it curious, not even on a Legends deal. Like, they never really brought him back, and I don't know why. I don't know if it's because, his Legends dates would conflict with softball season. Big fan of softball was Sid. But yeah, he never really returned to WWE afterwards. He'd do some things here and there. He did return, like in 2012, to, I think he wrestled Heath Slater, I believe. And that was pretty much it. Like, I think he had that one match and that was that. So that leads us that leads us to today and the unfortunate reality in which we live. Now that Sid Eudy, Sid Vicious, Psycho Sid, or just plain old Sid, is no longer with us, passed away at the age of 63. Of course, we extend our condolences and well wishes to all of his surviving family. We had a bit of a surprise last week when Ronda Rousey decided to do an AMA on Twitter and ask me anything if you're not hip with the lingo. And it went so well. It went so incredibly well that she ended it early. Now, in fairness to Ronda, I don't think that's anything special. Like, I feel like all MMAs end up ending early. Like, when's the last time you heard of an AMA where it's like, yeah, we went all the way through? Most of the time they just finish early. Or is that just me? Maybe it's just me. So, I don't think there's much news in that. The news that came out of this, though, is the reason that she decided to end the online event early was because of all the people roasting her for her views on Sandy Hook, or purported views on Sandy Hook, because years ago, about 11 years ago, she shared a conspiracy video setting out the idea that what happened at Sandy Hook was not real, that the people were actors, and this was a deep state affair to get people to force lawmakers into repealing, I should say, gun laws in the United States. Not repealing, adding more gun laws, adding more restrictions. That's what I'm trying to say. Adding more legislation, making it harder to own a firearm, etc., etc. And Ronda had shared that video on Twitter, and she, after the AMA, had completely fallen apart. Last Thursday evening, she posted a notes apology, saying that I'm not going to read through the whole thing because it's rather long, and you've either already seen it or if you haven't, well, it's very easy to find. It's been plastered everywhere. She said in her apology that reposting the video was the single most regrettable decision of her life, that she'd always wanted to apologize. There were multiple reasons why she didn't or couldn't, including her publisher. She said that in her recently published memoirs, she had written a bit where she wanted to apologize for what she did, but her publisher said, no, don't do that, And I can understand why a publisher was like, well, let's not get into this. We're not equipped to deal with the media backlash that's going to happen. I don't know who published Ronda Rousey's book. Ronda Rousey book. I mean, it depends, right? I'm saying this and I don't even know. Is this the one here? Is it? Yeah, it's Our Fight. And it is so hard to find a publisher. Just tell me who the publisher is. I'm legitimately on Amazon. Like I'm on Amazon and I'm just like, from the publisher. Who is the publisher? What? Why is it so hard to find who published the stupid book? Grand Central Publishing. Doesn't sound like a big publishing house to me. Well, they're part of the Hachette Book Group. So Hachette Book Group is like one of the 5 biggest publishers in the world. So, I mean, maybe individually that, I don't know, I've never personally heard of them. So maybe they're bigger than I realize. But, you know, you could make a case for the publisher saying, yeah, you know what? Let's not go into that territory here. We're not equipped to deal with the media backlash that's going to follow, kind of thing. So focus on other things. And I mean, that ultimately that's fair. But so, you know, essentially, you know, she wrote her apology. And again, like I don't want to sit here and read through it. I don't think it's, like I said, it's a little too long. You can go check it out yourself. But, you know, as someone who has not been a Ronda Rousey fan for this reason and a few others, yeah, I even have to admit that I thought it was a very good apology. I think that in the context, she hit all the right notes. She said all the right things, and she does come across as contrite. How sincere is she? I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I don't know her, but the apology is there, and she, you know, not only takes full responsibility for it, but you know, it is a true form mea culpa. I don't have a problem with it. You know, there's things in the apology that she says where, you know, why did it take her 11 years to get to this point? That's the major impetus right there. Like if she really was sorry about what she did, she could have reacted way before now. She absolutely could have ended up she you know, at the same time she could have just continued being silent, you know, but I you know, another thing that she said in her apology that irked me was, you know, she said, I shared it, but I wasn't even sure what to believe, right? I wasn't even sure if that was something that I could, if it was something that I could actually, that I thought was true. And I'm like, that's a weak answer, because she did delete the tweet, but there are tweets that still exist where she's arguing with people saying, you know, you know, she's saying, oh, well, and I'm paraphrasing here, you know, sometimes mainstream media don't report the whole story or something to that effect, right? So it's like, excuse me. So I understand that she might, you know, she might have gotten to the point where she might have gotten to the point where now she regrets doing it. But back then, I don't think it's like something where it's like, oh, I don't know if it was true or not. You did retweet it, Rhonda. You did put it out there, and you sort of defended it by saying, oh, well, not, you know, mainstream media, so on and so forth. So, you know, it's, to be honest, you know, it's not great. It's not a great look, and it's still not a great look today. I have to be able to think that in 10 years, and over a decade, right, 11 years, someone can change. I think it's a reasonable expectation to be like, to think that within a decade you are no longer the same person you used to be. Think about how you were when you were 18 versus 28, or how or 38. I don't know how old everyone is, but it's like I'm not the same goofball as I was in my 20s. Like, absolutely not. Or in my 30s. I'm not. Things evolve, things change. And I think it's okay to want to make amends for things that you've done in the past that maybe at the time you thought you didn't that corresponded to a belief you had, but maybe now not as much, and you regret certain decisions and you want to make amends for them. And I want to be open-minded about that, right? Because, and parenthood will change you in certain ways as well. Like, it will change a whole bunch of perspectives, right? I still think, sharing videos out, putting these people, these poor families in Sandy Hook, that put them through an unwarranted amount of scrutiny from the dumbest people on earth. I don't think that was cool. I don't think it's the mainstream media isn't reporting this. No, the mainstream media wasn't reporting these things because it was insane. Because it was a mass national tragedy that wasn't set up as some black ops to take your guns away, you nimrods, you bozos. And maybe back then, look, this is MMA. It's the type of environment these people are in, where this was all at the time where there was this uprising against the mainstream media that was starting off. It's like, you have to look to alternative sources. You have to do the research yourself and all that. It all started bubbling up back in those days. And that's where it all started. So I think she was just a regular product of what was going on. So I want to give her the benefit of the doubt. Now, is it up to me, or is it even up to you to say whether this apology is good or not and whether it's worthy or not? I honestly believe it's not. Even though I just spent 7-8 minutes telling you that I thought it was a good apology, ultimately my opinion in this situation doesn't matter. It's the families that lost their kids that day in Sandy Hook that need to tell us whether this apology is okay or not. They need to accept it or reject it, or they might just end up ignoring it at the same time. But ultimately, it's their call, and that's all we can really endorse. Like, there's no need to really take a hard stance on this if the principles involved are not saying a word, or not endorsing, or endorsing. Like, there's no reason. And ultimately, that's the only way this apology will ever be truly valid. It's if the families of the survivors, the surviving families, turn around and put out a statement and say what they need to say about it. But I'm convinced, I remember at the time, Dana White saying, the video already had 20 million views. Well, who cares? She still added to the noise. She still added to that. Maybe other people didn't hear it. And it doesn't matter, because she just outright tweeted it. She gave her stamp of approval on it. So it's not even a question of, it had already been seen by tons of people. You just put it out there. It was seen by more people necessarily. Absolutely. So, I mean, so that's where I'm at. That's how I feel about it. I think it's a good apology, but ultimately, it's not me to decide. It's not me to decide. And I think Ronda has a few more things that she needs to apologize for as well. Just saying. It is time for some contracts and injuries news. Whoop whoop. Let's start with Kevin Owens, who apparently has less than 6 months left on his WWE contract. Let me read this article off of the Figure 4 online Wrestling Observer website. The 40-year-old former Universal Champion revealed in an interview with Metro UK on May 4 that he had 9 months until his deal expired. He recently told Sports Illustrated's The Takedown that the only thing that has changed regarding his contractual status since then is that there is now less time remaining on the agreement. That is such a tremendous Kevin Owens quote. Owens signed a 3-year deal with WWE in late 2021 that is believed to be in the $2 to $3 million per year range. Dave Meltzer at the time wrote, "It's a very good deal. It's a very good money deal. I think that the feeling was that it was more than he would be able to get with AEW. It's 2-3 million in that range per year, so it may be. I don't want to say it probably will be because I don't know what AEW would have offered." So, and Chad is already bringing it up. Kevin Owens to AEW, Kevin Owens to AEW. And I want to put this, here's my thought. Why? And let's just be completely honest, okay? What does Kevin Owens / Kevin Steen has to offer AEW at this stage in his career, right? Now, you can make an argument that he probably has more to offer WWE than they are letting, than WWE is using him, right? He has more to offer WWE than WWE is using him as or for. You get what I'm saying. Terrible syntax, Warren. But you know what I mean. I don't know. I don't know what. Look, here's the thing, and maybe this is just me. You know, I saw Kevin Steen wrestle. Obviously being in Quebec, you know, him being based out of Montreal, he traveled a lot. I've seen Kevin Owens do the indie shows. I've seen Kevin Steen go up and down the road. I've seen Kevin Steen in Ring of Honor. I've seen Kevin Steen in PWG. I am fine with Kevin Steen. I was excited to see him in NXT, you know, because this is a guy whose dream was to be in WWE. And his dream was to wrestle Stone Cold Steve Austin, which he got. You know, it's like he has always been a guy who always wanted to be in WWE, and he got his dream. So what does he have to offer? Like, do we want him jumping off of stuff in AEW? We already have a guy in AEW doing that, you know. I mean, he's got a great energy. He's a great promo. I don't want to give the impression that I'm down on Kevin Steen. I love Kevin Steen, and he's an important part of my fandom for years. But I don't know what he's got to offer AEW at this stage. 2 or 3 years ago would have probably been another conversation. But at this point, I don't know. I don't know if I'm excited. Like, you know how I feel? I kind of feel like Adam Copeland. And you know, I am on the record saying that I'm not sure that Adam Copeland joining AEW was a good idea. I kind of thought it was a mistake. I didn't know what he had to bring to the table, and it turns out he's been super entertaining. Shame, and it's a shame that he's injured. But his AEW run's been tremendous. Is this a situation where it's like, oh, well, they're going to get this big name from WWE, you know? No one is going to change channels to watch Kevin Steen in AEW because Kevin Owens is not a big deal in WWE. He's not. You know, look at the match in Berlin this weekend. Sure, he's fighting for the undisputed title thing, but you know, he's not winning that. I don't think anyone is legitimately believing that Kevin Steen in 2024 is a guy who can do that. Now, I would even say that this is a guy who might even just like hang it up for a couple of years, where he'd be like, nah, I'm good for a while. This is a guy who made a lot of fucking money. He made a lot of money. And I'm sure he's fine. And he's still, as far as I understand, he still lives in Maryville, which is, you know, let me put it to you this way. It ain't Beverly Hills. You know, I'm sure he's living a more than comfortable life. And being a down-to-earth guy, I don't think he's necessarily looking to, you know, make all the money or no money. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be disappointed if he did make a jump, but I don't know what he has to offer. Just as much like I don't know what he has to offer WWE these days. It goes both ways. I don't even know what he has to offer in WWE. Like, what is the Kevin Owens outside of some good matches? Because he can go. Owens has always been a good pro wrestler. So outside of that, what does he have to bring to WWE? Because you know in WWE, you need to bring more than that. So I don't know. Let's see how all this plays out, like Alexa Bliss once told us to do. And we might even, it might all turn out that he just resigns, which is absolutely possible. Maybe he's going to play the sides against each other to get more money from WWE, which he should. Whatever happens, I hope he gets paid and I hope he's happy. And if he goes to AEW, well, you better make me happy too. Speaking of Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn is out there receiving stem cell therapy to help recover some nagging injuries. Sami Zayn is undergoing stem cell therapy in Mexico. The RejuveStem Regenerative Medicine Clinic in Cancun posted on their social media that WWE wrestlers Sami Zayn and Ivar are both at their clinic to receive stem cell treatment. This clinic has also been used with other wrestlers, famously Rey Mysterio Jr., Big E, Shotzi, MVP, and Matt Cardona. The post had this to say: each superstar, speaking about Zayn and Ivar, has spent over 20 years respectfully performing all around the world. At this stage of their respective careers, both Ivar as well as Sami recognize the importance of taking care of their bodies so they can continue performing for the WWE Universe for years to come. Jeez, they got the lingo down. Were they provided copy from WWE PR? Because they got the WWE. They even got the WWE Universe thing in here. So Zayn will be He'll be out for a short while. I don't know exactly how long he's going to be out. Rich Swann has been suspended by TNA Wrestling. He is going to be entering rehab after a disorderly intoxication arrest. And let's read the article off of The Observer. Once again, former TNA World Champion Rich Swann will voluntarily enter substance abuse rehab following his second arrest for disorderly intoxication and has been suspended by TNA indefinitely. Post Wrestling first reported about this. Swann was arrested on June 8 in Altamonte Springs, Florida, where he was charged with disorderly public intoxication and causing a disturbance. TNA was first informed of the arrest when Post contacted them on Monday for a comment. Monday being last week would have been the 19th. This news was published on the 21st, excuse me. In a statement to Post, TNA said, quote, TNA Wrestling takes any and all charges against its performers seriously. Rich Swann is responsible for his own personal actions. And Swann is suspended, quote, pending the completion of its investigation into the incidents. So yeah, I mean, it's, you know, here, this is what the report read here of the incident itself. On the night of the arrest, Swann attempted to forcefully enter an apartment when a male who lived there called for his father to help. The father then grabbed his handgun and audibly let Swann know he had it and had to leave. Swann claimed it was his house, but left after the father opened up the door and showed Swann the gun. The resident called the police and later declined to press charges. Swann had left the area by the time they arrived. The Post report opined that Swann perhaps mistook the apartment for his own home as it is near his actual home address. Another woman reported Swann was trying to talk to her and follow her as she was picking up packages from her son's house. She said she got into the house and locked the door as Swann was following her. The police report described Swann as incoherent and appearing to be intoxicated, reporting that they smelled alcohol on Swann's breath, that his eyes were glassy, and his speech was slurred. And this is also Rich Swann's second such offense, going back to September 2022 when he was arrested at the apartment complex he lives in. There was also an incident back when he was still in WWE. What was it, like in 2000? It's probably 2017, 18, somewhere around those, somewhere in that in that vicinity, where I think he had, if my memory serves me right, he had been charged with false imprisonment and simple domestic battery, something to that effect. The charges were dropped, but WWE fired him from that point on. He had been with TNA pretty much ever since. So I mean, man, that breaks my heart because, you know, clearly he's always had issues, struggles, you know, which is sad, and it's sad that even to this day they haven't been completely settled. So, you know, I kind of hope that he can get his act together. This brings no joy. It brings absolute no joy to me. So I just hope Rich Swann gets okay. Another report coming out of All In this weekend is that Swerve Strickland signed a new contract with AEW, like after the show or the day after or something like that, coming out of the weekend. According to Fightful, it's a new contract for a multi-year deal that will keep him with the company until at least 2028. We don't know exactly the duration of the contract. And Fightful also reports that this deal is considered one of the biggest deals in the history of the company. Fantastic. Brother, get paid. Absolutely get paid. I think that is a tremendous bit of good news. Good news for Swerve, but I think it's also good news for AEW. But I'm going to tell you, look, we'll talk about Swerve a little later. But if there's one guy in that entire company who has absolutely elevated his stock since getting there, from being just a guy to being a top guy, being paid, millions to keep around, I think that's tremendous, and it shows the value that they have, that they put in this guy, and the work that they put into it. Again, we'll talk about him later, but if you think back to the entirety of Swerve's trajectory in AEW, his build to where he is right now has been subtle, but has been good. His path is exactly how you build a new star in a company. He comes in, mid-card guy, does his little tag team things and does his he's got his stables. They don't all work out. Parker Boudreaux and Trench maybe wasn't like the greatest look, but they made him progressively feel like an important an important part of the show. And you can't deny that, right up until him becoming the top guy of the company, holding the top championship. I think that's fantastic. It's so easy, honestly, to just listen to all the bad faithers talk about how AEW is doing everything wrong, that we have a tendency to not see when they do things right. Because when they do things right, they do them so well. They're practically peerless at this point. You've got one company that's just like, oh, it's everyone's turn up to bat. And the other company, actually goes ahead and builds new stars. I think that's fantastic. But here's another big contract, another big re-signing, another big swoop. Humberto Carrillo has re-signed with WWE. This is again being reported by Fightful. AKA Berto has re-signed with WWE. I'm sure all of you were waiting with bated breath on the decision from Humberto Carrillo and his career plans. So there you go. And here's something that kind of took all of us, got us all out of, came at us from left field, is what I'm trying to say. Mauro Ranallo is coming back to commentate pro wrestling. He's going to be doing it for Maple Leaf Pro, Scott D'Amore's new promotion. During an appearance on Insight with Chris Van Vliet, Scott D'Amore announced that Mauro has agreed to return to pro wrestling announcing as the voice of Maple Leaf Pro. The promotion launches on Saturday, October 19 and Sunday, October 20, with events at St. Clair College in Windsor, Ontario, Canada. I mean, that's tremendous if you ask me. I miss Renan. I miss Mauro. I have always been much more pro Mauro than a lot of people out there. I've always liked him. I thought he had a great feel for pro wrestling, and especially with all the goofballs that WWE have been trying over the past years to try and get over. The Patrick, what's his name, or Kevin Patrick, was that his name? The Irish dude, right? That they tried to put on there, and then Jimmy Smith and Adnan. All these people, trying to do Mauro's job and couldn't do it properly because because Mauro actually likes pro wrestling, because he was actually able to understand the stories and make it, be able to convey the things. Now, were there things that were a little grating, a little annoying sometimes? Yes, of course. But this is the fact, this is the thing with all commentators, even with Jim Ross at some point, you're like, oh, here he goes again, whatever. Yeah, you'd always have just these little things where you're like, That's just the nature of it. But overall, Mauro is, and Mauro was a tremendous broadcast voice, and I think it just sucks that he was ran out of the business, and I know he has his mental health struggles, and I'm glad that he's feeling up to it to come back and do this, because I think as far as a commentator goes, you right now free agent that you could just pick up. I don't know who's better. Matt Stryker? Do you want to give Matt Stryker a call? Josh Matthews? Vic Joseph knows, that he has to get rid of Booker T because he's holding him back. And that's the thing, but you see, everyone got annoyed at Mauro. I think, he had some tics, and, I think people really thought he was also annoying with all the pop culture references, which really doesn't bother me. And I think you're getting really, really nitpicky at that point. But, all the others that WWE have tried in these spots to try and capture that type of magic with a real professional broadcaster. That's another thing that WWE has been doing, right? And there's no, don't be mistaken here. It's not coming out of nowhere. It's, people are, they're WWE, the people that they're interviewing and that they're trying out for these spots are all legitimate sports broadcasters, not lowly wrestling fans, not people who have been following the business. No, they want people who have been on, Monday Night Football and, calling baseball games. I don't know. It's I don't know what all these people's CVs are like. But that's what they want, because again, to WWE, there is nothing worse than just being perceived as a mere pro wrestling outfit. They're better than this. They need this legitimacy. They need to feel the legitimacy of being who they are. Sportscasters, thank you for always looking out for me, Kristen. I appreciate it. So that's what they're looking for. When they would be much better served with people who actually watch and love the product and have been watching it for years and can actually make relations and dig deep in history. But WWE doesn't care about that. They really don't. They don't care about that. We know they don't care about that. And it hasn't changed. It hasn't changed since Triple Paul has been in charge. I know a lot of people like to delude themselves that it's different, but it's not. It really is not. It really, really is not. So there you go, Mauro Ranallo. And just so you know, yes, I will try my best to cover Maple Leaf Pro, at least for their opening salvo. I am very excited to see how this is going to happen. And you know what? I'm very excited at the idea of a major regional wrestling promotion in my country. Not unlike Rev Pro in the UK, right? Or at least in England. I don't know what it. I'm not getting into those politics, but I'm kind of excited about that. So I'm looking forward to see what D'Amore is going to do here, and I think it takes balls for him to do that as well. Just be like, dust himself off and like, okay, let's go right ahead. Let's start this off. And now he's got like, and now he's bringing in, some of the old TNA guys and gals to kick it off, and he's got Kenosuke Takeshita signed up, and I mean, I'm excited to see how this shapes out. Let's just go. I'm excited to see how this turns out. Let's do it. It's time. AEW All In London 2024 review is happening now. This show that happened on August 25th, 2024 from Wembley Stadium in Merry Old London, England. No, it's England that's merry, right? Merry Old England. What is London? Is London merry? Or is it, dank and depressing London? In Merry Old London. Basically, there's a bit of a bipolar relationship there that exists between the metropolis and the country. Okay, well, I mean, okay, let's start from the London foggy town, I guess. All right, I guess, Chad. So according to WrestleTix, but as I'm recording this, WrestleTix has not come out with a final number. WrestleTix says that 53,393 tickets were distributed for the show. Oh wait, that's not the right link. I had a link ready and it is absolutely not the right link. But here we are. I got the link here. Tony Khan though, on his end of the things, posted that, of course, on Twitter, on social media, saying posted that All In was a financial success, drawing more than 50,000 fans to Wembley Stadium, and being one of AEW's top 2 pay-per-view buy numbers over the last year. So not the top 1, but one of the 2. So second? Why? Just say that, Tony. That also works. This is what he said. Great news with over 50,000 tickets sold, Wembley Stadium for All In London. I think our best show ever. It was also one of our top 2 pay-per-view buys in the past year, along with AEW Revolution, which was, of course, Sting's final show. What a 2024 AEW. See you Wednesday night for AEW. Okay, little business information here to break down. Let's talk about the pay-per-views, because I always, I like that. Revolution is said to have been about 180,000 buys overall. Like these are still estimates. So, that was Sting's retirement show. 180,000 pay-per-view buys this March. So if we consider that, then it's a little less than that. Wasn't it Double or Nothing this year that did like 143,000? Or am I completely off base? I think that was around where it was. I could be wrong. I could be messing up this information. Maybe we should just check. But yeah, so Double or Nothing did about 133,000 buys. And that's the estimate, right? So I'm just drawing a blank here. I feel like I feel like Forbidden Door did around the same. So, like the number could be anywhere. Is it 150,000? Is it 160,000? We'll get the estimates. Like I'm sure Dave is going to ponder over all of this in the Observer this week, and we'll come back around and talk to that. But good news. I mean, the show wasn't a bomb. I wouldn't have expected it either. I think it's reasonable to, even with the big main event that they had, I think it's reasonable to have expected this show to not do as well as Sting's final career match. If we're being completely honest with each other. So, that's good on that front. Then we have the let's see here. Yeah, then the tickets, right? Tony says more than 50,000. WrestleTix says 53,393 distributed. We'll probably get those numbers over the next couple of weeks. We'll get the infamous turnstile counts. We're gonna get into that, bushel of nonsense. That's all gonna come back. But I mean, 50,000 tickets is a tremendous success. All of this is a tremendous success for AEW. This is their biggest gate of the year. It's probably the second biggest gate in the history. It's the second biggest gate in the history of the company. This does gangbusters business for them once again this year. So, I mean, it's crazy, when you think that, AEW isn't like screaming this from the mountaintops any stronger, because yes, as opposed to last year, there are about 30,000 tickets less, right? They sold about 30K tickets less, excuse me. But that was practically impossible to reproduce this year. They had 80,000 people in the building last year. 50,000 this year is so tremendous nonetheless. At 80,000, but it was practically impossible to do the same thing. You'll never be as strong as your first time entering in the market. Like that's just plain simple common sense. And there's more than enough times in history and all sorts of different events happening throughout history that show exactly that the first time you go, people get excited and go when they buy the tickets and they sell the place out. But then you go back and then it doesn't work quite. I don't want to say it's a bust, but it doesn't quite work out as well as the last time you were there. So for me, basically what I'm trying to say here is that it's crazy that AEW feels that they can't trumpet this tremendous number and pat themselves on the back for it, because the weirdos are all going to come after them and say, well, you sold 30,000 tickets less than last year, which is true. But this show is still a success. And there's no two ways about it. You can't just like, you can't sit back and not accept that reality. This show was a success. I mean, and it's a smart move for them to not bring the show to London again next year. This show specifically. They're going to be bringing Forbidden Door. We'll talk about that in a second. But, you take a little break. You come back in 2 years. 50,000 tickets is a lot of tickets. It's a lot of tickets. And as for the contents of the show itself, the card itself, in regard, notwithstanding all of the business aspects of it, look, this was pretty much the WrestleMania, right? This is essentially it. And that's what they want. That's what they want this show to be. Clearly because they're, they want to make All In the destination show. They want to make All In the stadium show, the one that people will travel to, that will get, that will pack 50,000 people in a building, right? That's what they want. A show that's what they want to put on. A show that, excuse me, that probably showcases, let me say that again, that showcases what AEW probably wants to be. A combination of the stories and the sports entertainment, and the reality of North American pro wrestling in 2024 with really good wrestling. I think that's the marriage that they want to be able to create here, right? And don't get me wrong here. This is exactly, I'm not just pulling this out of thin air. We were told at multiple times that we were using verbiage that was very close to WrestleMania talk throughout this show, and even in the build, where people started talking about Wembley moments. I want my Wembley moment. Saraya comes out and she says, I'm not even booked on the card. I want my Wembley moment, and et cetera, and et cetera. It wasn't like driven home. It wasn't like everyone was saying that, but this has become slowly part of the AEW vernacular over the past couple of weeks. And, so we're talking about moments and moments and moments. So where that can skew, in what direction that could go, right? But, maybe I'm being a little too nitpicky, but it's something that I've still noticed nonetheless. And this show was full of moments. This was a show that was eventful, lots of things happening on the show, lots of announcements being made, but it also happens that it was a show that had some really good pro wrestling. And overall, I thought it was a good show. Not great. I don't think this was a great show. It had a great main event. It had, I think there were 3 great matches on this show. Everything else was sort of like good. Couple of things really didn't work out. But, ultimately, I think people are going to remember this pay-per-view because of the moments, because of the big match, because of all the little things that happened throughout that made them feel like they were part of something special. And that's what WWE has always been successful. Well, not always, but is successful, at least recently. That's how they're successful with WrestleMania. It's making people feel like they've witnessed something special. And I think that's what AEW did with this show. And I'm going to start straight off with the top of the card. Let's go right into it from the get-go. We're going to talk about the main event, the title versus career match where Bryan Danielson defeated Swerve Strickland to become the new AEW World Champion. What a performance. What a match. Just a great match by these two guys here. Danielson, sure, of course. Danielson, the greatest North American pro wrestler to ever do it, in my opinion. One of the greatest of all time. He was not going to let anyone down here in this match. Neither was Swerve, don't get me wrong. He was absolutely incredible. Both these guys were coming into this match knowing what kind of stakes were being laid out. And I'm not just talking about kayfabe. I'm talking about, what the fans are expecting in this big stadium show. Swerve was just incredible, and he has been incredible. And I am very proud to have been one of the guys who has always been on Swerve's train in regards to his potential as a main eventer. And in this match specifically, he kept up with Danielson. He delivered. They created a fantastic story, but without compromising on the ferociousness of the match, the visceral aspect of two guys beating the hell out of each other for the biggest prize in the land and for one guy's retirement. But he kept up here. Swerve, he just kept up. And he just came to the ring. And again, I was watching this with Kristen, and I'm just looking at him, come down to the ring in his Jimmy Rave robe. And I'm telling Kristen, I'm saying, this guy is so cool. This guy is so cool. I could try to add any adjectives to it. I could try to find, pithy little synonyms to make me sound smart, but the word is cool. That's what Swerve is. From the entrance to the final bell, this guy was a top guy. He came in as a top guy and he left a top guy. And I am not going to sit here and eulogize the career of Swerve Strickland as if, he's done with this, right? As if this was some end to this, some conclusion to a great era or whatever, that we'll never see again. Because Swerve is eventually going to get this title back. They just signed him. We just talked about it. They signed him back. He's there till at least 2028. So, another 4 years, tons of money, and a guy who has proven himself to be one of the top guys in the company, and a guy who, when he started off, when he got the belt, I was excited. And I was excited because I was like, this is the moment. This is where he's got to embrace it and just be the man. And this is a circumstance where I feel the belt did make the man. And it took him a while. It took him a little while to grow into it. And people were saying, oh, I don't like how AEW's handling you. He doesn't feel like a big deal. And what would I usually say on the AEW Dynamite reviews in that regard? I would mostly say, we just got to give it some time. Let him grow into it. Let him grow into the role. And slowly, surely, we got there. We absolutely got there. I think even when it went during his feud with his rivalry with Will, I think that notched him up to another level. He felt more confident in his role as a top guy, as a guy who can carry the company on his back. And here in this circumstance, in the weeks leading up to this match, it's all been spectacular. This is a situation where the belt made the man. He became a champion. He became a champion while being the champion. And this is something that not no one, but a lot of people will not give Tony Khan credit for taking the chance, for creating a plan, because there was a plan. You can see it now. From the moment he got the belt off of Joe and the path that took us all the way to this moment here, there was a plan. You cannot have this happen if you do not have a plan. And everyone was losing their mind, saying, eject button, fail. But there was a plan and it worked. I hope Tony took a victory lap. in regards to the success that Swerve Strickland has been as a champion. Now, we're talking creatively and so on and so forth. Has he been a draw? Is it, well, I mean, ticket sales are at their worst for AEW, like regularly they're at their worst they've been in the history of the company so far. There's no one in this company who outright draws. There's no draws. And no, Swerve hasn't proven himself to be a ticket mover. We're going to see in a couple of weeks, though, at All Out, if the rumor persists. Well, if the rumor becomes true and Swerve does face Hangman at All Out, which is a feud that has a lot of juice behind it. It has a lot of juice behind it. Maybe we'll get to the point where he can, maybe this will be a show, is what I'm trying to say, that he can demonstrate that he does have some form of drawing power. We'll see. But Swerve was elevated. And you cannot not consider him a top guy in this company. You just can't. You just can't. And in this match, Danielson playing into his family and his injuries because he knows what he's doing. And it's just so good. This match had authenticity to it. And I know it's always a weird thing to talk about in a form of entertainment where everyone is expected to be phonies. This really had authenticity to it. It felt true. It felt real. And I loved how they decided here in this match, because this was important, how they decided in this match that Swerve had to be the heel. Like we couldn't have people doing whose house throughout the entire match. So how'd they do that? They had him do the Death Valley Driver on the apron on the ring bell while the ref was distracted, right? A little cheap shot, a little sneaky way to get the win or to take a shortcut. And from that point on, everyone was like, no, fuck you. Fuck you, Swerve. I thought that was tremendous. Instantaneous heel. And if that wasn't bad enough, Swerve just went off. He just went off and started beating down a bloodied Bryan Danielson right in front of his kids on the floor. Calling them out. That was tremendous. And I'm going to tell you, this is how you kind of do the melodrama for it to work. It did not get in the way of the match. Not like how WWE likes to do its melodrama, where you have these incredible long pauses and these monologues and people, staring at each other's bracelets. None of that. You had, at some point Danielson reaching out, to his family, and then he says, I'm sorry, I love you too, and all of this stuff. But it didn't hinder the match. We didn't take pauses. There was no dialogue. We didn't have Swerve for like 30 seconds saying, I'm gonna retire you. You should have stayed at home. You could have retired by yourself, and I'm gonna do it in front of your children and all that. All the things that we already understand about the match. That wasn't returned to it. This is how you do the melodrama in wrestling for it to be interesting. And they kept the feud with Hangman alive in this match as well, where Hangman at some point just shows up He just arrives and he tries to get into the ring, but security's there. And again, I like that because when that happened, I was like, oh my God, they are not going to do this, right? They're not going to have Hangman run in and cost the match this way, right? No, they didn't. This was just a little something because Hangman is out of control. The Hangman is nuts. The Hangman has lost his mind. He needs to get his hands on Swerve. It didn't work. He didn't win the Casino Gauntlet match. So he's like, okay, I got to try and get my hands on him, whichever way I can now. And the great thing is that Swerve doesn't, up until this point, he didn't care. He never acknowledged him, never gave in, never cut promos on him. He just, he's above the Hangman. He's put the Hangman in the rear view. He has nothing to do with Paige, right? But because the Hangman ran in, and don't forget, for a good part of this match, Swerve was in control here. He was dismantling. Danielson as well. Now, at some point, when Hangman shows up, that distracts Swerve, and that throws him off his game. And you can make an argument. You can absolutely make an argument that this moment changed the tides, and it shifted the tides, and it eventually caused Swerve to lose. It wasn't a direct consequence, but it took him off his game, distracted him, and gave enough time for Danielson to regroup and eventually lead to the finish. Where maybe if this hadn't happened, Swerve had the potential to just end Danielson right there. So this might be this. I feel like this is the impetus to the all-out match in a couple of weeks. I think this is where we're going. I gave this match 5 stars. I love the finish on top of that. I thought the finish was tremendous. As far as a match getting me to feel something, make me feel invested, and not artificially. Something where I'm like, this has been built wonderfully over the past few weeks. This is how you do a wrestling build. This is a story. In a show filled with stories. Every match had a story, but this one here was the top match. It was the top attraction, and it felt that way. And they pulled out all the right heartstrings. And I know a lot of people were afraid that Danielson was going to lose, but I've been telling you for weeks at this point. Yeah, we had a little old segment here a couple of weeks ago, basically showing that because of all of the press that Danielson had been doing and talking about his family and his retirement and going back, I was like, he's not doing it. This is Bryan Danielson. He's not going away just yet. He's going to make us believe he's going away, but not just yet. So it'll be interesting. So now we've got a world champion American Dragon we haven't seen in a long time. So we'll see what happens. But this match I thought was absolutely tremendous and a great way to cap the show. Capping it off with his family in the ring. He's bloodied. The final countdown is blaring. Well, what more do you want? Pro wrestling is so good. When it's good, there's nothing else like it. Why don't we talk about the other big match of the night, which was the AEW American title match, where Will Ospreay defeated MJF to become the new champion. Well, at least get the new, become the new international title. We're getting that back into the picture. I thought this started off hot and was a great match throughout. You know, both these guys are work their asses off in this match per usual. You know, which is some incredible stuff. Oh, of course, Will gets an Assassin's Creed entrance. We forgot to mention that. We forgot to mention that he got the product tie-in. I don't know if this is like, I don't know if this is if it's his thing, right, specifically, or you know, if this deal sort of extends with AEW now. You know, because we know Will loves the games. We get it. We know Will. That's fine. So that was pretty cool, and MJF comes out dressed like Apollo Creed, and I mean, they're just doing moves, telling a great in-ring story. They're being quite level with each other, and then Will Ospreay accidentally jumps off the apron and knocks out a cameraman on the floor with the hidden blade, which then distracts the ref as all of this is happening. So we get back into the ring. The ref is still like, for some reason, the ref is checking on the cameraman. I don't know why, but this is what's happening. We get Will lands a heel hook. He goes for the hidden blade, but MJF is waiting there with the belt, gives him a belt shot across the face, covers, but there's a big kick out by Will, and it's followed up by a brain buster by MJF. I'm there, oh shit, we are done, but no, Will kicks out of that again. There is a ref bump that follows, and then they start teasing the Tiger Driver. MJF tries to use some brass knuckles after this, but then a mystery masked man appears out of nowhere to keep MJF from using the knucks, and that mystery man unmasks to reveal himself to be Daniel Garcia, to a big reaction from the crowd. Will then comes after MJF and lands the Tiger Driver to get the win. And Will doesn't even want to touch the American title. He's like, you know, referee has it in his hands. He's like, no, this is not my belt. And then Scrap Daddy Christopher Daniels shows up, and he's got the international title, which he hands to Will. So that's officially reinstated. I thought this was a great match. Another great match. I gave this 4 stars. I thought it was great. Just a fantastic, some fantastic work. If you were to ask me which one did I prefer, well, I prefer the 60-minute match that they had on Dynamite, about a month ago at this point. I preferred that one. That was more my speed, and you know, overall, even though the finish really annoyed me, here not necessarily an annoying finish, but we got everything squared away. Look, this was a really good match. It was great. Not just really good, it was great. It was a great match. And we've got Daniel Garcia back in the picture. So that's what you've got, Daniel Garcia, who apparently is still not quite sure what to do with his contract, which is supposed to be up in October, right? So Garcia shows up, and since he punked out MJF, well, we can all expect that the feud coming out of here, or at least the match for All Out, is going to be MJF versus Garcia. Now, I still think somehow that Garcia is going to be sticking around AEW. I don't think he's going anywhere. I think it's a little, again, like, I think it's a little unique that he's being booked in these positions, but he doesn't have a contract signed yet. Like, he's being placed in these top spots, like with MJF right now in this big time feud. But he's not sure if he's going to stick around. And this is being framed, from what I hear, as Tony Khan just taking a gamble, which is weird, because I feel like the last time he took a gamble with one of these contracts, you know, in that regard, it's maybe not a one-to-one situation, but the last time he was, you know, putting people on TV, and they left, right? They ended up, you know, William Regal is specifically what I'm talking about. You know, it's like, I'd feel, I don't know how much I'm buying this. That's all. I don't know why people around me would be lying about that. And I don't know why they'd be being fed false information. Maybe this is a situation where Tony really is like, okay, make up your mind, but look, you know, I'm going to put you in all these great spots here. Or maybe this is Tony's way to just wrap up this loose end in this story, because maybe Daniel Garcia is indeed leaving for WWE. So he's like, okay, we're going to make the match. We're going to put it on. We're going to wrap this up. You can come back at All In. You'll have your match at All Out, and MJF will take you out there. Maybe. That's going to make the match at All Out very interesting. Because if MJF wins the match, then it could come across as Dan Garcia leaving. But if Garcia wins, then there's a very fair chance that he's re-signing with AEW. It could be that they're just leaving this information out there just to add a sense of danger and uncertainty, right? That could be that too. I mean, after all, we're supposed to believe that that Bryan Danielson is working without a contract right now. Yeah, listen, I thought this was really good. And it's a good, I enjoyed this match tremendously. I thought it was great. These to me are like the two top matches of the show. Why don't we start then back at the bottom and work our way up? Start with the pre-show. Lots of stuff happening on this pre-show nonetheless. First, everything opened with a 16-man tag team match. I don't know what you want from me here. This is just bonkers, and I don't have thoughts. I really don't. This stuff happened. It's fine. I do have one note. Kip Sabian got a bigger reaction from his countrymen than Anthony Ogogo did. And he, you know, boxed for the Olympics. He represented the UK at the Olympics. Yeah, this was fine. Did I even rate this? I don't even know if I rated this stuff. Yeah, I gave it 2.5. So I got nothing here. I had nothing here. Tomohiro Ishii and Willow Nightingale defeated Stokely Hathaway and Chris Statlander. Yeah, this was essentially a singles match between Willow and Statlander, and that's okay. That's exactly what this is for, because you want to build to Big Tom-ish getting into the ring with little old Stoke, and then people going, and that was the joke, and then that's fine. Stokely eats a spine buster and the sliding lariat for the win. Didn't have to pull out the brain buster. It's just Stokely after all, folks. Not that big a deal. It's only Stokely. Yeah, I don't know. So Willow gets to pick the stipulation for the match at All Out. I thought the CMLL women's title was going to happen at this show, but no, it's happening at All Out. So okay, that's just fine by me. We'll cross that bridge when we get there, which is in 2 weeks. So hang on to your hats. Is this the easiest payday in the history of Tomohiro Ishii's career? I'm asking this sincerely. When was another match I feel like even matches he may have had with Yano in the G1 were a little harder to work than this. I really believe this was the easiest money Ishii has made in his entire career. We had a 10-man tag team match where Dustin Rhodes, Katsuyori Shibata, Sammy Guevara, and the Von Erichs defeated the Cage of Agony and the Undisputed Kingdom. I cannot underscore how nobody got excited for Sammy Guevara. And somehow, we're still trying to make Sammy a babyface. And I don't know what the point is. I just do not understand that. Look, this is another 2.5 star match. I got nothing for you. There's nothing to glean out of this. It's fine. We did get some news items as well on the pre-show. First of all, there is a date set for AEW New Japan Forbidden Door 2025. A date and a place. It is going to be in London. The pictures of banners with the Forbidden Door logo were circulating. There was a Forbidden Door London 2025. Well, the date is confirmed. August 24th next year is when it's going to happen. No venue has been announced yet. No ticket information either. So essentially taking the Wembley spot here, which I think is fine. And that'll probably do real good for them, because you'll be doing the crossover show next year with, it'll be your first time doing that. Hopefully bringing in people from not just New Japan, but all the other partner promotions. Maybe throw in some Rev Pro in that as well. Get people excited for this. I think this is going to do very good business for them. I think that they're going to do very, very good business here. So we'll see how it all shakes out again. But as it stands right now, Forbidden Door in London next year. And since we're talking about new shows, AEW is going to make their Australia debut with a Grand Slam Stadium show. And that's going to happen on February 15, 2025 at the Suncorp Stadium in Brisbane, Australia. I think my Australian friends are happy that it's not another thing happening in Sydney. I think I think they're happy that it's not just something happening in Sydney, because there are other cities in Australia, and so at least now we're gonna hear talk about another one. So in Brisbane next year, the Suncorp Stadium is a 52,000 seat arena. From what I understand, it can go just around 60,000 for concerts and stuff. So yeah, it's a big place. It's a big place. people can say, hey, Warren, yes. How big is AEW in Australia? How the hell is that? I don't know. I'm pretty sure Tony has, the data to show that there's probably a good opportunity here for them to jump on. And it's like I was saying earlier, first time in their market, first time in the market, it's going to draw well. Like this is just good, smart business at this point in AEW's career. This is fine. Is it a career? It's tenure. It's existence. That's the word. And this, this news comes this news comes along, and then today we learn that AEW Collision is going to start airing on ESPN Australia starting September 1st. And that ESPN Australia will also be airing the Grand Slam show in 2025. So does that mean that it's not going to be a pay-per-view? Or is it going to be like a special Collision? Like what is this exactly? Because it is on a Saturday. It is on a Saturday. So I'm assuming that this is going to replace your run-of-the-mill Collision, and instead we're going to get we're going to get the Grand Slam show on TV. So we're going to get the stadium show for free on TV. I'm assuming. Or they just want to make look, that's what I'm thinking, right? So maybe it could be just this Grand Slam is going to be a Collision, just as simple as that. And that's why they're going to start broadcasting collisions on Australian TV to establish the routine of tuning in to watch wrestling on Saturday nights. Yeah, and there was also another big moment happening on the pre-show. Martha Hart coming out with Tony Khan. You were expecting something else. I'm getting there. Martha Hart came out. For some reason, she was there. For some reason, I mean, don't get me wrong. It's fine. Like she's obviously part of the extended AEW family, and I'm okay with that. And she comes out and she tries. She puts over the Commonwealth, and it's the first time I ever hear anyone cheer for the Commonwealth. I don't cheer for the Commonwealth, and my country's part of it. I don't know what the Commonwealth brings to me. As far as I understand, it is my understanding that we just can continue to give money to the UK. We don't get anything out of this. It's like, because what did she say? She said, I'm from Canada, right? And she gets booed. And I'm like, first of all, I'm like, hang on a second. First of all, I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? England booing Canada? Like, we never rejected you. We never booted you. It's the Americans who kicked your ass out of the country. We're still in this relationship together. It's a very odd relationship that we have these days, but it's still there. Your monarch is still the head of state. We're still paying a governor general here to make sure everything works. We're going to start getting coins with old Chuck's face on it soon. Don't worry. And so I don't know what the issue was. So she says I'm from Canada. Boo! Like, fuck you. And then she says, we share a border and we're great friends with the United States. And the United States, and then they go, boo. Now that I understand. I have a better understanding for people who want to boo the United States. Don't get me wrong. I know a lot of people who live in the United States, friends who live in the United States. My lovely fiance is American. I have no issues with people, but the U.S. as a country and about itself, it deserves to get booed once in a while. Let's be honest. The country deserves to get booed once in a while. So I'm like, oh, well, I mean, I can buy that. I understand. Plus, clearly there's some hard feelings still left from all the tea that's in Boston Harbor, right? Clearly there's a little more. We haven't worked past that trauma yet, clearly. But sharing the Commonwealth? That's just not, but we're still part of our friends. And Tony Khan's there and he's going, come on, boy. Fuck. Anyway, it was a nice little segment. Don't get me wrong, it was a nice little segment. And then Saraya comes to the ring and she has with her, we're pivoting towards politics here in this election season for both Canada and the United States. I'll be right up there. I'm going to be right there up with Destiny and Ben Shapiro. I'll be right up there with the both of them. Here we go. It's all upward trajectory from this point moving forward. So Saraya comes out and she's got the entire retinue of the Knight Clan with her, right? Yeah, sweet Saraya is there, the mom. You got Zodiac Zach who's there. You got Ricky Knight Jr. And then you've got other people. Some that I recognize. I believe. I believe Rio, not Riho, Rio was there as well, and Harley Cameron, because of course she's aligned with Saraya right now. And they're all like together. Oh, Kristen's got the list for us right here. Mercedes Blaze and Lizzie Evo were there as well. So thank you very much for wrapping all that up and not making me look like a complete goofball. Look, hang on a second. You're the British Isles expert, okay? You're the one that we lean into for this kind of stuff, okay? All right? Everyone has their expertise. So Saraya's on the microphone and she talks about having her Wembley moment. There you go, Wembley moment. She says it word for word. She said she won the title last year on the show. This year she's not even booked. And Jamie Hayter returns. And she beats people up and she tries to get to Saraya, but she can't. And she looks tremendous. And she looks tremendous. And she's healthy and apparently she's ready to go. She's going to be booked on this week's Dynamite against Harley Cameron. I'm excited. I thought this was good. I saw a lot of discourse around the idea around this being a problem that she's on the pre-show, right? And I think people have to stop being weird about pre-shows because you're watching the fucking show. You're watching the show. Like, the only thing that is distinguishing the pre-show from the main show is that this part of the show, of the overall all-out thing, is that you're not paying for this part, okay? And you're getting matches for free. And we know what the pre-shows are for. They're to get people to buy the show. All right? And so we have to stop being weird about things happening there and seeing it like it's some kind of demotion when the idea is to create a sense of FOMO so that whoever's watching it and didn't pay the show is going to buy the show. And look, if you're going to get big surprises on the pre-show, you could probably be there saying, oh shit, if they're having Jamie Hayter return on the pre-show, what else is going to happen on this show? I've got to buy it, right? I think that's the most logical point A to point B situation. Otherwise, there's a fair chance that if you're watching the pre-show, you're watching All Out anyway. So what is the problem? You're already locked in. You're locked in watching the pre-show, and you're seeing Jamie Hayter make a return and getting people excited. I mean, how would this have been better if Jamie would have been on the main show? I don't know. I don't know how this could have, and especially with the way they're going to reintroduce her, bring her back. They're going to give her an easy little feud here, an easy little rivalry. She's going to have a match with Harley Cameron that's going to lead to a match with Saraya. They might even blow it off at All Out, and then she's going to go on to bigger and better things. I mean, I don't understand. I don't understand what the issue is. I really don't. And people have to stop being weird about the pre-shows. They really have to stop being weird about the pre-shows, especially when there's matches on them. Now, WWE doesn't even bother to put matches on the pre-shows anymore. It's just, fucking Pete Rosenberg and the new mic stand and Big E just give us your predictions, boys. No, stop being weird about the pre-shows. Stop it. Everyone stop being weird. No, don't stop being weird. I think everyone should be weird, but stop being weird about the pre-shows. So that leads us to the opener. All of this, and we're back. We're back. It's not even the buy-in anymore. It's called the 0 hour, chat. It's 0 hour. It's not the buy-in anymore. It's 0 hour. 0 hour. And 0 hour lasts 2 hours. I don't know if you heard. So Claudio Castagnoli, Wheeler Yuta, and Pac defeated the Patriarchy and the House of Black and the Bang Bang Gang to become the new AEW World Trios Championships in this London Ladders match. Everyone's doing shit, and Pac is getting huge reactions in the match. That's essentially what this is going on. And it was good. Nothing incredible, but I thought it was solid. And, I'm always fearful with ladder matches that, we're just going to come up with contraptions and try to make it, wacky structures for people to fall on and fall off of and so on and so forth. But, that didn't happen. There were a couple of cool spots here, like Nick Wayne got some cool stuff in, like he did a tope into a destroyer onto a table. He did that on Malachi Black, which was an absolutely fantastic move. Juice Robinson gets crotched on the top rope off the ladder, and there's some spray involved that Mama Wayne is using, and Luchasaurus is Christian Cage is expecting him to watch over him in this match, but it doesn't quite work out as Christian Cage is climbing the ladder. Pac is too, and Pac kicks him off and wins the titles for his team. So, like I said, good little match, but nothing too Daredevil-y, nothing out of the ordinary, but a good match. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. Now, the minute I saw, yes, that's right. He's still Kill Switch. They just teased us with the Luchasaurus thing, but yes, it is Kill Switch. I apologize, chat. This was so the minute I said it, I'm working through my thoughts. The minute this match ended, I saw people saying, oh, there we go. Pac is replacing Jon Moxley in the Blackpool Combat Club, because apparently we're convinced now that Mox is done with AEW. This is the thing that's been going around. I can tell you, from what I understand, from what's been circulating, he is not done with AEW. Not yet. I don't know. He's not going anywhere. He's not, and he's most likely not going to be released. Guys, gals, and non-binary pals, there's no way Tony Khan is releasing him or anyone else for the same reasons I mentioned earlier. You know, the last time Tony Khan did this, he got burned. William Regal, you know, where someone wanted out of their contract and was like, okay, sure. Well, then William Regal pops up in WWE and you know, egg on his face, right? And I think it's even curious. So you know, TK's not doing this. He's not releasing anyone from their contracts. He'll let them go, but he's not granting releases. And you know, 2 years ago, maybe Tony Khan 2 years ago, maybe he would have done it. But right now, when he's knives out with the WWE, no way that's happening. And I'm not even sure. Here's the thing is, like, I'm not even sure Mox would go back to WWE regardless. Like, I'm not even sure he'd go back there in the first place. Don't forget why he left. It's all in his book. And if you think things have changed, and then he's like, new management, everything looks so much better. No, it's not. It's still very much run the same way. So, you know, if anything, Mox would probably just bum around, get a couple of dates now and then. He'd probably go full time to Japan. Don't forget, he's got his residency card. Do not forget this. He made a big deal out of that because he loves wrestling in Japan. That's the kind of stuff Jon Moxley wants to do. He doesn't want to go back to the sports entertainment land. He wants to wrestle. So I would not be surprised in the least if it ever does happen, because it's not happening now. It's not happening anytime soon. If it ever does happen that Jon Moxley leaves the AEW, then he'll go for a stint in New Japan. And that would be healthy for him. That'd be good for him, because he should find peace and be happy with how things are going. I'm 100% convinced that the IWGP title reign was not satisfactory to him. I'm sure he's not proud of that. I'm sure. Anyway, got a little off base here, but no one's getting replaced, at least not now. I think Pac is a nice little addition to the BCC. Might also be just one of these, you know, these convenience associations, right? Where Pac is just like, well, no, I mean, we won titles together. I'm not your friend. I work alone kind of thing. Maybe he's just like, I can absolutely see, you know, Pac saying, yeah, you know what? I've been in groups before here and it didn't work out. So no, you know, I'm going to do my own thing for a while. Anyway, Pac is facing Will Ospreay at All Out. Just thought I'd remind you all of that. Then we had the AEW Women's World Title match where Mariah May defeated Toni Storm to become the AEW Women's World Champion. Mina Shirakawa is on hand. She's in the audience, looking conflicted from a skybox. I don't know. I thought this work was fine. I don't have much on this either, you know. Mariah Blades and look, Tony kicks out of the Mayday, Mariah kicks out of the Storm Zero, and, Tony has the shoe, and she can't kill her with the shoe, right? She can't bring herself to use the shoe on Mariah May, despite the fact that all throughout this build, Tony was unhinged, insane, and saying, "You're going to die, I'm going to kill you." And we get to it, and we don't want to do it, and I am so sick of stories in pro wrestling where wrestlers don't want to land moves on other opponents because they might hurt them. I am sick of this. This is dumb. Like, I hope we don't do this ever again, because it doesn't make sense to me. And in the context of this build, I would have thought Tony would have just went completely like Tasmanian devil on her with the shoe. I don't get it. I mean, this match had blood. I thought the match was fine. Here we go. I thought the match was fine, but it went beneath my expectations. And it does not finish like it started. In fact, it finishes where it naturally ended up being. Let me explain. The turn was phenomenal. It was one of the best heel turns ever. I thought it took everyone by surprise. It was brutal. It was violent. That was all people were talking about. Had tons of buzz. And between the turn and this match, despite how hot that angle was, this match cooled down. It became very, very tepid, very cold, for a bunch of reasons. We've covered them. I don't want to go back on them, but there's a bunch of reasons that this match did not feel as hot as it was. They weren't able to sustain it. And this match should have ended in a bloodbath, because essentially Tony Storm was promising us that week after week, trying to inject some passion, some energy into this match, but it never happened. And the match ended up being flat, just like the build. It's just like the promise of something great, but no, it just underdelivered in every way. I really thought that they were going to just like tear everything apart, tear each other apart, but not quite. And that's a shame. That's a damn shame. I gave this 3 stars. It was okay, but it was just lacking something. They worked, but we got to stop with the stories where I don't want to hurt my opponents. We got to stop with that. That's annoying. FTW title was on the line when Chris Jericho lost it to Hook in an FTW rules match. This is the worst match of the show. This was bad. This was a bad match. I give this 2 stars. Look, on the plus side, Fozzy got a booking. But this stunk. And it's not the first time that Jericho and Hook have matches with each other that stink. So we've got to pivot out of this. And I know they're doing another multi-man Jericho versus Hook match on Dynamite this week, but hopefully it pivots into something else, because there's no more blood to squeeze out of this stone. This match really did stink. I didn't think it was good at all. And of course, there was the moment, the Wembley moment, where Taz was choking out Brian Keith to the excitement of all, and even I myself popped. You know, I did the DiCaprio meme. I'm hoping to retire the dopey little title. I hope, you know, I can't remember who said this. It's not an original thought here. But someone said, you know, why does AEW have a hardcore title in 2024? What is this? You know, why do we have a hardcore title in 2024? Stop it. It's nonsense. It's too much. And it doesn't mean anything. Let's hope it's all done. But yeah. AEW World Tag Team Title 3-way match had the Young Bucks retain their titles against FTR and the Acclaimed. Another very cold match. Yeah, I understand that, you know, people leaving the company sort of threw wrenches into some plans and whatnot, but I cannot believe, I am still befuddled at the idea that this wrestling company, which was, which had become a haven for tag team wrestling, which was one of the hooks of the company, has been reduced to this, putting three teams, like their three top teams, probably the only three real teams, push teams that they have left, into a three-way and just like, okay, do something. I don't know, not bad work in this match, but there was nothing that could make me care. You know, of course, Nick Jackson has a tremendous sequence in this, and it's fine. And look, I've got nothing. I've got nothing here. It's a match that left me completely indifferent, and the work was solid, if unspectacular. And I'm sick of the Acclaimed. After the match, though, a Wembley moment where the Grizzled Young Vets show up out of nowhere and attack FTR. Now, that's some stuff I can get into. That's something that I can get excited about. You have the Grizzled Young Vets coming in, attacking FTR. Fun. That is fun. That's something to look forward to. Then we had the Casino Gauntlet match. Oh, how much fun was this? Just a blast. I gotta tell you, each of the Casino Gauntlet matches, this is the third, right? Each of them have been hits. No misses. Because you know what's great? You know what's great is that you don't have to fill this match with, you know, J-Brones, people you don't want to see, you know, lower card losers. You know, you just throw in your aces. You just throw in the people that the people want to see. And every time these matches have delivered. I don't want Tony Khan to overdo it. This is the road we're running on here. But this, holy shit. So much fun. And this was a show that needed this match because the crowd was on their feet. They were buying every minute of this. They were into it. The surprises and even the non-surprises, this ruled. Christian Cage won this one. He limps to the ring because he was he limps to the ring because he was you know, in a match earlier. And we think that Killswitch, who came in with his old Luchasaurus music, we thought that he was going to come after Christian Cage and finally end the disrespect that Christian Cage has been heaping onto Luchasaurus. And we finally thought this was the moment that in the earlier match, in the ladders match, that Christian Cage had gone too far, but no. Luchasaurus is still Killswitch, and he's still on Christian Cage's side. Helped him spear Nigel McGuinness. That's right. Nigel McGuinness coming into fucking in the bushes as it was ordained. Entered this match looking great. A little rough in the ring. I mean, this is a guy who was told he'd never wrestle again, and he hasn't wrestled in what, like 15 years? He gets a pass. It's fine. You know? Little rough. But he did do signature moves. He did the rebound lariat. He did the corner leg things. He did the Tower of London. And people were just out of their minds happy for this. Hope it scratched your itch for the Nigel Danielson match. Okay? I hope we're good with that now. I hope this, you see, he was in no condition to go 20 minutes with Danielson. What are we doing here? I hope everyone is coming to grips with this situation. Right? Enough's enough. Enough's enough. But that was absolutely a great surprise. I don't think anyone was really expecting that, so that was tremendous. Orange Cassidy was there. He was the #1 seed. Zack Sabre Jr. came in as a surprise. I think that, well, you know, he was in town doing the Ref Pro show. I think he could put 1 and 1 together and knew he was going to be in there, but it was still a nice surprise. Tremendous reactions. And to all my New Japan brethren who watch this and, you know, who watch New Japan and keep talking about how, oh, we're not sure if, you know, if Zack is a top guy, or, you know, if he has that presence, if he can light up a stadium. I look at him come in and how he commands. He's commanding rooms more and more. I think that was a story of the G1. I think his aura is developing. I know there's a lot of talk about, oh, well, they don't have trust in him because he's not going to be challenging at he's not going to be challenging for the title at the Dome. They're going to do it at King of Pro Wrestling, so they don't have confidence in him. Look, I understand all of this, okay? That's fine. But I think it's undeniable that Zack Sabre Jr. right now is at a peak of popularity. And it was absolutely tremendous. So he was in there, it was fun. Adam Page got in there as well to beat up Jeff Jarrett, who was also in this. So the weirdos, y'all got what you wanted. Everyone was clamoring for Nigel to be, you know, at the show. You got him. Everyone was clamoring for Adam Page versus Jeff Jarrett. You got him. You happy now? God bless AEW for not making a singles match for Adam Page and Jeff Jarrett on this show. God bless them. This was perfect. Did exactly what needed to be done. Can't remember who got El Kabonged here. It was Hangman, right? He got El Kabonged by Jarrett. And Page comes in and he throws him out and he screams at him, "Stay the hell out of my way." That's it, because Page is fed up of people always being in his way to try to get the swerve. Kazuchika Okada was in this as well. Loved the interaction with Page. I thought it was great. Kyle O'Reilly, Luchasaurus, Killswitch, Mark Briscoe, Roderick Strong. They were all in here. And Ricochet. Ricochet showing up. The news had been broken, I believe. Well, it had been reported that he had signed with AEW, and there was a fair chance that he was going to be at Wembley Stadium. And Ricochet did show up in the gauntlet match. So all of the rumors and speculation are now done. He is officially a part of the members of the roster. He's got his he's got the he got the graphic. Why am I blanking out on the simplest words? He got the graphic and everything. He's going to be fine. He's going to be absolutely fine. And like I said, look, I'm excited to see what Ricochet is going to do coming into AEW, because let's be honest, this is a guy who has not been well used in WWE over the past few years. I mean, he's been with the company since 2018, and outside his time in NXT, he's been geeked out forever. He was Intercontinental Champion. You remember that? Wasn't that last year? Or the year before? He was Intercontinental Champion, and he was never being booked on the shows, on the pay-per-views. So I'm excited to see what he's going to do. This is a guy who's essentially still healthy, right? This is a guy who his bump card hasn't been filled up by any stretch of the imagination. He's been doing junk. He's been doing prelim ass grab nonsense. So, it's all fine. I'm kind of excited to see where this is going to go for him. We've talked about it, enough. I'm only rehashing points that we've talked about recently, but he's going to have his first match, and I'm excited to see how that's going to turn up. And I'm sure he's going to be happy to be in an environment where he can flourish a little more, where he can do a little more. I don't expect him to be a top guy. Here's the thing. I don't want to I don't want to give the impression that I'm saying that he's destined to be a world champion in AEW. I don't know. Probably not. Well, you never know how things can go. But he's going to be better used. He's going to be put to better use, and he's going to have some more interesting feuds and rivalries and matches in AEW than he ever would have in WWE. So, I'm excited. I'm excited to see this. I'm excited to see how this is going to turn out. But this match was a blast. It was a lot of fun. This and a great shot in the arm for a show that really, really needed it. That really, really needed a shot in the arm. Because everything before that, aside from the hook match, right, was fine, was good. Just, good work. Nothing really bad. Again, aside from the hook Chris Jericho match. But nothing getting you into second gear, third gear. Nothing that made you excited. So this was great. And then after that, we had the Will Ospreay MJF match. And then after that, we had the TBS title match where Mercedes Moné successfully retained against Britt Baker. I thought this match was boring. It's just, Those are my notes. I don't know what to add. I don't know what was the issue, but this was boring. And it's weird because I thought this build was pretty good. I thought Britt was sort of mailing it in over the past couple of weeks on the build. I think despite the suspension, they did a good job, but the match was boring. And then we had the TNT title coffin match where Jack Perry defeated Darby Allin. I thought this match was disappointing. I thought this match didn't live up to the expectations I had and a lot of us had. It was very basic. I don't know if they were short on time and they had to cut some stuff, but this was so very basic and nothing really interesting. We did the real glass bit as I thought they were going to do. Hopefully, we will never bring this up ever again. We got it out of the way. It's out of our systems, right? Just a nice little reference and we can move on. But this was very disappointing. Sting showed up for a Wembley moment. And that was it. But yeah, this was... I was definitely expecting more out of that match. And that led us to the main event, and that is the review of All In 2024. All In London 2024. So there you go. A good show, like I said. I think, fine show, good show, but it's absolutely carried by two great matches and the Casino Gauntlet, which is also very good. But and especially the main event, like that, it carries so much for this show here. A show that if it hadn't been for the two quality matches that we got, we probably wouldn't be speaking about it so highly and feeling so good about it. And now it is time, as we start winding down the show, we are going to preview WWE Bash at Berlin, which is happening on August 34, 2024 in Berlin at the Uber Arena. So this is the next big PLE that we have on the schedule, happening in foreign lands. So the crowd is going to be into it. They're going to be excited for their WWE show. I don't know if I'm excited for this card, though. I will watch it and I will review it next week. But I don't know. It's headlined by Cody Rhodes defending the undisputed title, which is actually disputed because the World Heavyweight title is being disputed on that show as well. I mean, that's the very definition of disputed. Cody Rhodes versus Kevin Owens. I think this was built around the idea that Kevin Owens doesn't want to be handed shots. He wants to fight for them, but he's handed a shot. I don't know. Regardless of how this was built, I think this is this has the potential to be very, very, very good because you've got two guys who are pro wrestlers and who know what people like. And, if they can keep the bullshit to a minimum, we can probably get something as fun as when Cody Rhodes fought AJ Styles a little earlier this summer. To tell you that I'm not looking forward to this is a lie. This is the match I'm most looking forward to on the show. I think this has the potential to deliver, and these are two guys who put too much care in their craft. They're just a couple of seasoned pros. They're not going to just toss this aside and mail it in. Even though this is absolutely like a B show, I think they're gonna deliver something really solid. I'm looking forward to it. So of course, like Cody Rhodes retains. I mean, there's no two ways to go about it. But Cody's reign hasn't been great. I don't know if I don't know if anyone is actually talking about this, but it's been very unspectacular. There hasn't been any great defense moments that are signature Cody Rhodes matches throughout all of this. Like, don't get me wrong. Like I said, I thought the AJ Styles matches were very good. I think this is going to be very good as well. But main eventing SummerSlam with Solo Sikoa, like, what are we doing? It's like, it's been a very disappointing run, and I think Cody is much colder than he's been since arriving in this company. Even while he was out with injury, I think he was hotter than this. I'm not saying he's not hot. I'm saying he's colder, significantly colder. So, we'll see what this is gonna do here. Gunther is defending the World Heavyweight Championship against Randy Orton. Orton is the outlier here, right? Is Orton going to be in the mood to take some bumps? Is Orton going to be in the mood to take some chops? I think Randy Orton is the most overrated wrestler in the minds of WWE fans. I don't think he's bad. I think he's overrated for what he is and for what he does and what he delivers. People don't understand that Randy Orton will do whatever he wants. That's kind of who he is. And I don't know. This is an absolute toss-up. If he has his working boots on, this is going to be a fun time. But he also might decide to, there might be a circumstance where there might be some this isn't going to work for me, brother. I think Gunther retains here, right? Wouldn't that make sense? I think so. Hopefully, everyone understands that Gunther is Austrian and not from Germany. And that we won't be saying hometown crowd. Hopefully. But you never know. CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre in the strap match. Following the debacle of the SummerSlam match, I have no faith that this is going to be good. I have no faith at all. And it's a touch the four corners match too. No faith. And I know CM Punk is doing this to come across as hard. I'm a hard guy. We're going to do the strap match just like Terry Funk did. And, I know what he's trying to do. But this is a guy who who refused to win a match. To win a match because a guy was wearing a friendship bracelet. Then the next week comes on TV and says the bracelets don't matter, but then comes on a week or two later and is still talking about the bracelets and is saying, yeah, and Drew McIntyre is still wearing it, and he's saying, give me my bracelet back, I'll take my bracelet back. Like, there's no sense, there's no rhyme or reason. This sucks. This is bad. And with the nonsense that happened at SummerSlam, I have no faith that they're going to do something strap match-like. I think it's going to be strap match light. It's going to be PG-13 strap match, and it's going to stink. And people are going to try to say that this is the greatest strap match they ever did Seesaw. Not into it. Not into it. Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley are going to be taking on Dominic Mysterio and Liv Morgan. The Judgment Day explodes. Look, who cares what's going to happen here? Finn Balor's going to come in and cost Damian Priest the match or some bullshit, right? This is simple. It's the bloodline. Who cares? It's the same thing. It's betrayals and all this bullshit. It's fine. I don't care. But this is a match that I'm convinced WWE fans are going to gobble up. Like, this is tailor-made for them and their love of stories this is it right here. It's going to be mind-boggling. I couldn't care less. But this match is not for me. And we have the unholy union of Alba Fire and Isla Dawn defending the WWE Women's Tag Team titles against Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. I hope the spooky girls had their fun, because Bianca and Jade are taking the belts back, and Bianca continues to be wasted trying to put Jade Cargill over, while Jade continues to be an exercise in futility when it comes to in-ring capabilities. That's all. Yeah, so, and, you know, back to 5 matches for the Bash in Berlin. So we're going to get the commercials galore. We're going to get, you know, the long entrances. Everything is going to be back to normal. No more 7-8 matches on the pay-per-views. That's way too crazy, Paul. You need to bring him back to the 5 matches. 5 little old matches. That's what you need to do. Thank you, Paul. Thank you. So, of course, like I said, I will be reviewing this next week right here on the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. So be sure to be there. And hopefully it'll be fun. And to finish this up, little preview of Capital Collision. New Japan Pro Wrestling show happening on August 30, 2024. It is, of course, in Washington, D.C. at the Entertainment and Sports Arena. Not the Sports Entertainment Arena, but the Entertainment and Sports Arena. We've got, for some reason, 11 matches on this card. This fascinates me. We're going to run through this because I don't think this is an inspired card. And I'm curious to see how well this is going to draw next week. Of course, we're going to be reviewing this as well. So let's get to it. Matt Vandegrift is going to be taking on Alan Breeze in the Strong Survivor matches, which Matt Vandegrift has been winning. Basically, you win the match and you're booked on the next show. That's what the Strong Survivor matches are. I have no idea who Alan Breeze is. So there you go. Trish Adora and Viva Van will be taking on the Empress Nexus Venus duo of Mina Shirakawa and Hanako. That's happening on the pre-show. That could be a lot of fun. And then the main card begins. Tomohiro Ishii and Hiroshi Tanahashi versus the Grizzled Young Veterans versus TMDK to determine the number 1 contenders for the Strong Openweight Tag Team Championship. Sure. I mean, look, Ishii's great, JYV are great, and TMDK are very good. And TMDK, by the way, Bad Dude Tito and Robbie Eagles, not Shane and Haste. Nichols and Haste. Shane and Haste. Shane Hayes. Nichols and Haste. Yeah, you know, let's see what happens. You know, I'm keeping an open mind on this one. This has the potential to be fun. Kevin Knight, Rocky Romero, and Yoshihashi will be taking on David Finlay, Clark Connors, and Joe Maloney in a trios match. Okie dokie. Fred Rosser and Tom Lawler will be taking on the West Coast Wrecking Crew. Little New Japan Strong feud going on there. Former friends of former Team Filthy members, the West Coast Wrecking Crew, of course. Should be good. Zack Sabre Jr. will be taking on Titan. I'm very excited to see this match. Tetsuya Naito versus TJP. No, not for the title. It is a singles match. Okay. I don't like, you know, good little match, interesting little matches, but nothing that screams you have to see this, right? The Strong Openweight Tag Team titles will be on the line. champions TMDK, Mikey Nichols, and Shane Hayes will be taking on Hechicero and Virus. Virus usually over-delivers in these New Japan Strong situations. Hechicero rules. This has the potential to be good. Mustafa Ali versus Hiromu Takahashi. There's a stipulation here that says that if Hiromu loses, he must publicly say that Ali is the best junior heavyweight wrestler in the world. You know, when Hiromu comes to North America, he's not as he doesn't go as hard as he usually does, or as he can go. Let's put it that way. He's more like in a relaxed mode where, you know, he'll just do signature stuff and everyone will go home happy. And, you know, Mustafa Ali, to me, has been a guy who has had one really great match since coming out of his WWE contract. I think this will be good, but I don't think it's anything that's going to blow our minds away unless both guys decide to turn up, but I don't know. Gabe Kidd versus Leo Rush. It's the Blackheart Leo Rush too, so his evil persona gimmick. Will it be too gimmicky? Because, you know, Gabe Kidd's on a roll. I'd like him to have a good, strong, pun intended, showing here to defend his strong openweight championship. But, you know, if we start getting into the weeds here with Leo Rush's goofy gimmick, I don't know. And finally, the main event, Mercedes Moné will be defending the Strong Women's Championship against Momo Watanabe. Should be pretty good. Mercedes is very good. I haven't seen Momo wrestle in a while, to be honest. There was a time she was very good as well. Look, we'll see. We'll see how it all comes together. But as it stands right now, this is not an exciting card. This is not a card that makes you stand for hours in the heat, you know, to get tickets. And then I hear NXT No Mercy is this weekend. Ethan Page versus Joe Hendry in the main event. God damn. Roxanne Perez versus Jada Parker. Obafemi versus Tony D'Angelo. Andre Chase and Ridge Holland, who's apparently in Chase U now, versus Axiom and Nathan Frazier. Chase U and Axiom and Nathan Frazier had one of the best tag team matches you'll see in WWE all year at their last PLE, but it was Andre Chase and the other guy. I forget his name. But you know what I'm talking about. It's just completely sleeping in my mind right now. They had a tremendous match, a legitimately great one. And then Kalani Jordan will be defending the NXT Women's North American Championship against the spooky one, Wendy Chu. Duke Hudson. Thank you, chat. That is indeed Duke Hudson. That was a very good match. And we'll see if Wendy Chu is getting over with the spooky gimmick. Because they had Bo Dallas debut on Raw last night. Didn't look all that spooky to me, if you ask me. So there you have it, folks. That's going to be, so we'll probably be reviewing this. Next week will probably be a review heavy show. And if you have the time out of your day, you should take the time to watch the CMLL Grand Prix that happened this past Friday the 23rd. So much fun. Just a blast of a match. So much fun. And there's just so much fun that, you know, and the pageantry that went around it, like, I'm like, oh, that's really good stuff. That's really, really good stuff. So there you go. You should take the time to watch it. Anyway, we are going to wrap this up for tonight. Thank you all very much for joining me. If you're watching this on demand right now on youtube.com slash MrWarrenHayes, please go right ahead and leave a like on the video and subscribe as well if you want to not miss out on anything else. And if you're listening to this on your favorite podcast application, 5-star reviews and 5-star ratings on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. That would be tremendous. But I appreciate you all being here and taking the time to listen to my little thoughts on pro wrestling every week. I will be back Thursday for the Dynamite review, but then also back next week for a big review show next week. So folks, thank you again so much for watching and listening, and I will see you next time.